Hey, what's going on guys? Wannabigo here, and welcome to episode 9 of Scrimming Essentials, a weekly series where I'll be breaking down the basics of how to scrim in Fortnite. In this video, I'll be discussing inventory management and which loadouts and utility you should be using for your playstyle. Please leave a like on this video and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Inventory management. Inventory management is one of the most important factors in scrims. This is characterized by deciding which items to take and how to use them most effectively. When you're going through your inventory, look at your items and assign a value to each of them. For example, say you're in endgame and get an impact frag. With only a few seconds to loot, you have to make a critical decision on which items to take and which items to leave behind. So how can we decide this? Well, first, take a look at your shotgun. Decide whether you want a tack or a pump and think about which situations you're going to be in. Pumps excel in mid-range fights where you can disengage and re-engage easily. Tacks are much better for close quarters fights and congested rotations where its high rate of fire and magazine will benefit you the most. Next, let's take a look at your AR. Make a decision whether or not you want to take a burst, heavy, or regular AR is a more difficult choice. The burst is good for situations where you don't have time to spray. The heavy AR is good for close to mid-range fights where its high rate of fire can make up for its big recoil. The regular AR is good for almost all ranges, however it lacks the insane burst damage and the fire rates of the other ones. A pro tip when using your burst is to aim at your opponent's neck when you're about to shoot. The high recoil of the burst will naturally gravitate your crosshair to the top of their head, so aiming at their neck will allow you to get a lot more headshots, which means a lot more damage. You can also do the opposite by aiming at their head initially and then pulling down your crosshair to their neck. This will allow you to get a lot more damage off at further ranges. The next option is an SMG. An SMG excels in close range combat and applying pressure to opponents. If you find yourself in a lot of box fights or fighting in buildings and other close range encounters, an SMG is definitely optimal. Now let's take a look at the different heals we have in the game. Here's a suggested tier list. Slurpfish are the best healing items in the game, followed by floppers, minis, bigs, medkits, and finally bandages and bandage bazooka. If you see any of these items, prioritize the higher items on the tier list first before the others. Please note that the quantity of each item can change its value. For example, one mini isn't worth the same amount as taking 3 medkits or 1 big shield with you. The same goes with other healing items. Their value can also change with your strategies. For instance, a single flopper may be valued less than 2 big pots. However, if you plan to take storm damage, a flopper will be way more valuable than the extra shield. The same can be applied with the other healing items. Additionally, RPGs, heavy snipers, boom bows, grapplers, and miniguns are all power weapons that have extreme value and can change the tide of your game. Depending on your situation and your current loadout, taking a power weapon over extra healing items can be extremely beneficial to your game. In order to decide which items to drop for it, let's move on to the next topic, loadouts. Loadouts. The loadout that you take is the combination of all the items in your inventory. The mats, utility, weapons, and your playstyle should all be taken into account when choosing your loadout. Here's an example of a build for a more passive-oriented loadout. The grappler maximizes rotational potential, while the triple heals provide more survivability, and the pump AR for max distancing from your opponent. These items don't have to be exact, however, just make sure they synergize well with your gameplay. The next loadout is for a more close range / aggressive playstyle. We use the tack for higher damage output, SMG for applying pressure, an AR or heavy if you prefer for gap closing, and a power weapon or double heals. This loadout is focused on pure damage output. In scrims, always try to take double heals on you if you can help it. If you don't have any extra space to carry an extra healing item, consider dropping your SMG as the extra value of the healing item can help save you in a pinch. Additionally, if you don't know which weapons to take to fit your playstyle, try reviewing your gameplay to see what type of fights you most often find yourself in. For example, if you notice that you're taking a lot of box fights, attack may benefit you a bit more than a pump. With that being said, let's move on to the last and final topic that I'll be covering in this video, utility. Utility is defined by the extra items in your inventory that isn't part of your core build. These items can either be common or obscure. Harpoons and launch pads are common utility items, while boxes and decoy grenades are considered off-meta. These obscure items may seem useless, however, taking the time to understand how they work can give you an advantage in-game. For example, if you have an extra spot in your inventory and you don't know what to fill it with, taking a decoy could help you in a fight. You can use them to scout out your enemy's location from over a hill or areas where you think players may be. Additionally, you can also use decoys on launch pads. Simply throw a decoy onto a launch pad and they'll start to glide away. Additionally, boxes can also be useful. Because people don't often check boxes, you can either catch people off guard or use it for a free rotation. Additionally, grenades are extremely powerful in this current meta. The Nade-Strat still works even after the nerf and can grant you free kills. To do this strat, take a look at the spreadsheet and line up your grenade throws with your marker. This strategy is really popular and well known in the pro scene because of its effectiveness. This concludes episode 9 of Scrimming Essentials. Huge thank you to Jacques, RDCraft YT, Elite Frenzy, PLG Terminus, Sean FN, Marcus Boone, Blaze Thanatos, Pazerboy, and everyone else who's using code 1UPEGO in the item shop. Thank you guys so much for all the support on this series, and it's actually amazing how fast we're growing. With that being said, please join me next week when I'll be covering how to VOD review and how to start learning from your mistakes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great time scrimming.